You know that feeling, right? You're staring down a problem and it just feels like a solid brick wall. You push, you try to find a way through, and you get absolutely nowhere. But what if the goal isn't to go through the wall? What if there were actually four totally different paths around it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to unlock a powerful toolkit for life's biggest challenges. Look, our world pretty much glorifies one single response to any problem: direct, forceful action. We're always told to fight it head on, overcome the obstacle, hustle harder. And you know what? Sometimes that works, but it's only one tool in the box. And if you try to use that one tool for every single situation, it's not just exhausting. A lot of the time, it's completely useless. So today, we're unpacking a really powerful philosophical framework that can completely change how you see your struggles. It's a toolkit with four unique strategies, and each one is designed for a very different type of problem. This isn't about finding one magic bullet for everything. It's about developing the wisdom to choose the right approach at the right time. Okay, let's start with the two worldly solutions. These are the paths we're probably most familiar with in our day-to-day lives. They're the strategies that deal with the tangible world right in front of us. And what's really interesting is that they are complete polar opposites: the path of taking action and the equally powerful path of choosing not to act. So our first two paths are laid out perfectly right here. On one side, you have direct action. Think of this as the toolbox approach. You've got a leaky faucet, a flat tire, a big project deadline. These are real, tangible problems with practical solutions. You just have to get in there and do something. But then on the other side, you've got wise inaction. And this is a strategy for those tricky problems that actually feed on your engagement. The invention of the Band-Aid is a perfect story of direct action. So there was this guy, an employee at Johnson & Johnson named Earl Dixon, and he saw this simple everyday problem. His wife was always getting these little cuts and burns in the kitchen, and the bandages they had back then were big and clumsy. So instead of just shrugging his shoulders, he took direct action. He took some surgical tape, put some gauze on it, and created a simple, ready-to-use bandage. He didn't just wish the problem away. He literally engineered a solution. But what about path two? Wise inaction. Okay, imagine someone is trying to provoke you, maybe online or in person, just hurling insults to get a rise out of you. Your first instinct is probably to fight back, right? To defend yourself. But here's the thing. Engaging is like throwing more wood on a fire. You're giving them exactly what they crave: your energy, your attention. The absolute wisest action here is inaction. You walk away. You don't engage. You starve that fire of its fuel, and it just burns out all on its own. Okay, but what happens when a problem can't be fixed, and you definitely can't ignore it? Well, that brings us to our third path, the power of endurance. This is for the heavyweights, the challenges we can't solve with some clever invention, but we just have to learn how to carry. This ancient story is such a profound metaphor for endurance. You've got this simple stone, right? Just lying there, it has no real value. But then a sculptor comes along, and the process of being carved, of being struck and chipped away and broken, it's violent. I mean, from the stone's perspective, it must feel like pure suffering. Yet it is that very process of enduring the hardship that transforms it into a work of art, something beautiful and revered. Some of life's challenges aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be endured because they are literally shaping us into something more. So from endurance, we arrive at our fourth and final path: surrender. Now, this approach is pretty radical. It doesn't try to change the problem or ignore the problem or even endure it in the usual sense. It actually seeks to transcend the problem entirely, which is why it's often called the way of the saints. This is the spiritual path of surrender. And it's so important we get this right. It's not about giving up in defeat. Not at all. It's about connecting to a source of peace so profound that worldly troubles they lose their grip on you. Think about historical figures like the poet Saint Tukaram. He faced enormous hardship, but he found such deep joy in his spiritual devotion that his external circumstances just became secondary. The problem doesn't vanish, but its power to make you suffer, that does. So there we have it. 4 completely different strategies for all the problems life can throw at us: action, inaction, endurance, and surrender. And the real skill here isn't just knowing these paths exist. It's about developing the wisdom to see which problem belongs on which path. So here's the crucial point. We don't have to use a hammer for every single problem. When you face a practical challenge, something you can actually influence, you take direct action. When you're facing a provocation, you practice wise inaction. When you face one of those unavoidable struggles that can actually forge your character, you find the strength to endure. And when you're seeking a peace that the world just can't offer, you can walk the path of surrender. So, this is the final crucial question. It's an invitation to just pause before you automatically react. I want you to look at a challenge you're facing right now and ask yourself, honestly, is the path you're on right now actually working? Or could the solution lie not in trying harder, but in trying differently? Perhaps it's time to choose a new path.